What is merch, and why should you care? Who's doing it the best now, and could you, or someone you know, do it better?
Let's find out.
Welcome to Tryhards, a series where we examine a trend on the internet and figure out what it would take to copy it. Anyone who builds an audience becomes a brand. That includes YouTubers, musicians, esports teams, hot dog stands, Twitch streamers, living memes, Instagram models. Anyone with a fan base can create branded merchandise, and their fans can show support by wearing it. For some creators, this becomes a passion project, and for others, a cash grab and a way to shovel junk at their fans.
It's very bad. I don't even know why you'd even want to put that around your neck.
The options for merch are endless and commonly include hats, hoodies, stickers, mugs, pop sockets, cassettes, panties, and makeup. But most merch boils down to a niche t-shirt business. So why are graphic tees becoming so important?
This is getting boring.
You're losing your audience.
In the same way that buying a t-shirt at a concert from a merch table has always been a way to support a musician who might be getting screwed over from every other possible direction, from the record company, by their manager, by Ticketmaster. Buying a t-shirt from a YouTuber or a streamer is a way to support them directly. And then as fans, we get something tangible in return. For a full-time YouTuber to never have any merch is kind of irresponsible. We've taken so long to put up any merch because we wanted to look into all the best ways to do it and then share that information with the public. Like the first Tryhards experiment about self-promotion and Instagram butts, this experiment will be a 3-part, maybe 4-part series where we take you along with us from start to finish as we try to figure out how to make the best merch that we can. These experiments are a process. We don't know everything, and we never will, but we're gonna do our best to figure things out as we go and share that information so that you can benefit from it. And part of that is gonna be figuring out who does know what they're talking about and picking their brains. And not just those e-commerce gurus that are all over the Google search results for related terms, who are trying to sell you what little they do know.
No freaking idea!
A lot of them are trying to sell what information they do have in like a PDF or a course. We did listen to a few of them as well. So we're gonna ask around a lot, and I'm gonna abuse my access to fellow YouTubers, and other times we're gonna look at what people who I don't know are doing and try to reverse engineer it.
So what do you think?
Before I dove into the research, some of the questions that I asked myself were, am I going to be stockpiling boxes of merch around my house and sending this stuff out by hand, like my buddy Rusty Cage? He's a 1 million sub YouTuber, and he's sending his CDs out by hand. He's sending things by hand.
Kids, mailing out your own merch sucks. Don't grow up to be like me.
I want to keep working on content full time. So whatever the setup turns out to be, it can't overtake the content, and it needs to work in a trustworthy way. There's a couple things like the goggles, the neon glasses that people have been asking about. Where do I get those? So we figured, I don't know, maybe we could sell these. Maybe the neon light. I've bought some merch from internet celebrities before, and it stays in my closet. This is a Gildan 100% cotton unisex shirt, and I never wear it. Look at the sleeve. This is a medium, and look how big the sleeve is. That's a sleeve. That's enormous. A huge roomy fit is not what we want to copy. This is tricky stuff to figure out, but there's no shortage of people who will offer to figure it out for you. If you sign with an MCN, they're gonna want a piece of your merch. If you sign a 360 contract with a manager, they're gonna want a piece of your merch. If you make a deal with the devil, he's gonna wanna be a part of your merch.
Give me a minute. I like making money, but more important to me is influence. And merch that doesn't get worn doesn't influence anybody. It just sits in the closet. So when Nerd City starts offering merch, I wanted to do 3 things. First, when you wear it and you look in the mirror, that you're proud of the way you look. And second, when it touches your bare skin, that it feels good. And lastly, maybe most importantly, that afterwards, you live life with no regrets. And you're willing to repeat the process over and over again. When you're an immortal being, you tend to look at things a little bit more long term. So I want you to think of me as Nerd City's ultimate quality control. We can talk a little bit more later.
So we need to understand the market and the competition. Who has the best merch operation and what makes it the best? What are people getting their hands on and then liking? I started a Twitter thread to find out. 217 people responded and the results looked like this. But these results might be skewed by our mutual followers, so I divided these numbers by our fan base overlap to devalue that, and then the results looked like this. With the numbers he got in the poll, Elvis must be doing something remarkable with his merch. Now there's only so much you can learn from a mock-up of a t-shirt on a website, so I sank a few $1,000s into YouTube's merch economy, and the packages from YouTubers started to roll in.
YouTuber merchandise. Yeah, this is what I want to fucking wear. This is what everyone wants to wear.
Jack's Films has maintained stores with 2 different companies that partner with him on print-on-demand graphic tees. Most of the YouTuber merch you'll encounter are fulfilled by print-on-demand companies, also called POD. Print-on-demand is like it sounds. It means that the shirts are printed to order in batches as small as a single shirt. We'll go through a lot more of the print-on-demand companies later when we talk about vendors. When we ordered from Jack, most of the shirts available were references to inside jokes in his content. Since then, he's launched Klondike, which is a sub-brand using the likeness of his dog.
The Klondike line is all about not being terrible. Don't be savage. Don't be obnoxious.
It's clearly a little tongue-in-cheek, but Jack's approach to merch got us thinking about the first big decision that any internet personality needs to make if they decide to get into apparel. Do you want to create a fashion line, ultimately, or are you just offering channel merch? Comedians like iDubbbz and Chris Raygun and Drew Gooden and Shane Dawson have all put their catchphrases onto shirts. That's become the standard approach for making merch, and it definitely works, but I'm not convinced yet that it's always ideal. Like, if I had to pull funny slogans out of our videos, I would really be forcing it.
No big bummus, no sponsored hummus.
The upside to putting a joke on your merch is that your fans will probably think it's funny. The downside is that if you're wearing one of those shirts and you're spending time around people who don't watch a lot of YouTube, you might have to explain what the shirt means.
I relate to pigs.
Some larger creators like Ethan and Hila and PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye and Markiplier have all deviated from merch and have launched fashion lines. Teddy Fresh, Suki, and Cloak.
Me and Marcy launched our own clothing brand, which is not merch. It's all ethically made, and it's all designed by us. We even have a beret. That's right.
Although their fans understand the connection to the creator, to the outside person, it looks like an independent fashion line. A sub-brand might be a perfect fit for a certain type of creator, but not for everyone.
This is our clothing brand. This is your clothing brand.
Take Hila Klein, for example. She has artistic chops to start with. She's sold hand-drawn art in the past, she's developed a recognizable aesthetic, and she has ambitions as a designer. So Teddy Fresh does reflect that positively. The Teddy Fresh winter coat we ordered was very unique looking. The quality is through the roof, the price was reasonable. Sourcing a jacket like this for a beginner is not easy. I've never seen this jacket anywhere else. The Teddy Fresh project as a whole is very impressive, and it ranked highly in the poll. This jacket itself illustrates why a sub-brand is a huge project. H3H3 does offer channel merch as well, and built that store first. The same with PewDiePie and Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. So we decided focus on channel merch for now. It might be fun to tackle a project as big as Teddy Fresh eventually, but too aggressive as a first step.
Oopsie doopsie. I'm oopsie doopsie. And oopsie doopsie. Whoops.
If you bought a bro fist from PewDiePie a few years ago, I've got some good news for you. He isn't selling it anymore. You made a fantastic investment. I can't even find them being resold on eBay. I guess it's a collector's item. In fact, the same could be said for every t-shirt that PewDiePie has ever sold, because Felix has moved away from print-on-demand merch as of late, and is now exclusively selling, limited edition merch. You'll see this being called limited time only or limited run merch. In contrast to print on demand, a limited run creates a window of time where orders can be placed. And then at the end of that time, the total order is locked in, and then the entire order is printed and shipped. After that, the shirt is unavailable. The scarcity becomes a potential selling point to a fan because if you have that fear of missing out, then you might not wait to order a shirt.
You only got a week!
The downside is that as a creator, we have to aggressively market a piece of merch.
When this fidget spinner stops spinning, you won't be able to buy the shirt.
Limited time only merch is something that we've mulled over quite a bit because it seems that there are serious drawbacks as well as advantages to it. Okay, so let's start with the idea that your fan base is not a static group. People are constantly flowing in and out of it. So if a channel is doing only limited edition merch, then a new fan that's just found you today has missed every single merch drop you've ever done. And watching through the back catalog, all of the integrated merch is now outdated. So like in PewDiePie's case, unless the merch is in the very latest video, it's not for sale.
New merch. Meme review official merch, everybody. It doesn't get any better than this.
No one can buy any of the merch they see in that content. And you would think that would cost sales because some of those old designs are gonna jump out at people as the shirt that they wanna buy. You can tell them that the ordering window is over, but there's gonna be people who want that one and only that one, and you know, too bad. Also, an ordering window for a limited run has its own quirks. The obvious upside is that if every order is taken from the public at once, then an exact order can be placed with a manufacturer for how many blank shirts are needed. Then you print designs on only what you need, and there's no concerns about sitting on unsold inventory, ever. On the fulfillment side, every product in hand is already sold. Pretty clean way to do things. You eliminate inventory management, but some of the downsides of that might be felt on the consumer end. We'll use the scenario of a 10-day order window. So if production doesn't start until that order window closes, if you don't at least stagger it out, then a buyer who bought the shirt on day 1 of the 10-day order window is waiting 9 days longer than someone who bought it on day 10. And that wait only compounds if the blank shirts that are going to be printed on haven't been purchased from the manufacturer until they've been bought by the viewer. This is getting so complicated. Across the board, most of the merch we ordered from YouTubers showed up in about a week and a half, about 10, 12 days. But we observed far longer fulfillment times from the limited time only merch. Represent makes it clear on the ordering page that there's a 3.5 week wait time from day 1 of the ordering window until shipping begins. And in the era of Amazon Prime, where now things will show up at your door in like 2 days, 3 days because they're warehoused locally, I have some serious doubts that anyone would be willing to wait a month for a t-shirt from us. I ordered one of Felix's limited run hoodies and I like it. I do wear it a lot at work, but it does have a meme on the front that Pewds had retired before I got the shirt.
Can you do this merch? That's right. You want some dead memes on your on your shirt? Yes, I do want to pay for an outdated meme, Felix. Thank you finally for answering us.
Now, it would seem that the list of disadvantages to limited time only merch are starting to pile up. But from what I've learned from creators who've sold merch in both ways, scarcity and FOMO are such strong sales drivers that it wipes those concerns away. So what are we gonna do with our merch? Well, I hate the idea of retiring every design we get right out of the gate. Since we don't have any merch yet at all, the idea that all of our first shirts will become immediately obsolete kind of bugs me. I suspect that churning through that many designs will become too much for me to keep up with. So I'm leaning towards not doing limited edition apparel, at least not all of it. There might be a sweet spot between sub-brand and channel merch that Elvis has found with Alien clothing. Alien clothing carries a name very close to Elvis the Alien's channel, so it's semi-branded to him, but also stands alone. The website is phenomenal. Compared to the plain, barely customized stores that you see from collections on Fanjoy, where everyone from Cody Co to Jake Paul has exactly the same template, Alien looks the part. Elvis curates designs without jokes and without catchphrases, and each one stands alone as a cool shirt. Alien clothing is a great example for how to do a merch line.
I really wanted to make sure that this clothing line wasn't something that was, you know, like a generic thing where we have like just a logo and that's it, and we just put on a bunch of stuff. You should know that by buying these clothes, you're not just supporting me, you're also supporting the whole Alien team, which includes a bunch of artists, some video editors, promotional guys.
The Maverick hoodie I bought, I gotta say, is pretty good for a light sweatshirt. It feels nice to wear, and it's soft on the inside, and the fabric pattern is customized. That's something that we learned is called cut and sew. If a large amount of orders are expected to sell, like with a Maverick merch drop, then we can have the manufacturer make the clothing design to our specifications instead of just printing on the more commonly available blank shirts. Cut and sew would also require warehousing of our stock, which we'll explain later when we explore drop shipping. Since cut and sew operations entail more upfront cost and risk, we decided it would be unwise for a channel of our size to do cut and sew. Logan Paul's packaging is also customized, which looks really sharp. It features his logo and it presents nicely out of the mailbox. We learned that this is called a custom poly mailer. Internet Comment Etiquette also has custom packaging, and it looks even better than Logan's. Eric Comment Etiquette does not use a typical print-on-demand company. His friend Uncle Dave runs their merch company called Neon Grizzly, which features Eric's merch as one of several collections. Uncle Dave told me that it's set up this way because they may expand who they offer merch for in the future. He silkscreens all the designs himself in batches and manages their stock. And he somehow does it all despite having the disability of a lobster claw for a hand.
Is that a mouse pad? I can't remember. Oh, it's a magnet. That's an enormous magnet.
We don't have room on the fridge for this magnet.
Yeah, like what would that? It wouldn't hold things. Jeez. Nikki, not a fan of internet comment etiquette.
I am too. You have $100 bill back here. The fuck? $109 back there. Unbelievable.
Everybody knows how we feel about Jake Paul. We've addressed it. But he sells a lot of merch, so we wanted some to compare. And being completely unbiased, totally objective. This stuff is total shit. Everything about this shirt screams low quality. From the printed label, lack of a woven tag, to the fact that it's 100% cotton and not a blend. All of these things are cheaper, and cheaper shirts are really just a cash grab by a content creator. We want our shirts to be wearable. I mean, you buy a shirt like this, you wear it once, you never wear it again. How likely are you to buy another one? A shirt like this is well suited to Jake's channel, where the fan base is really young and highly likely to outgrow the shirt and probably the content in just a few months.
The physical quality of Jake Paul's shirts is not the only thing about them that's subpar. What he's putting on the clothing is unbelievably cheap. The level of cost cutting or theft or negligence, whatever it is that's going on, is astounding. For a guy who bragged about making $50 million last year from an empire based around merch sales, there's no good reason, no ethical reason, not to pay for some original artwork for merch.
You guys as fans, like, I want you guys to go to right now and play this game.
In addition to being a blight on the YouTube community, Jake Paul is selling clip art on his merch. If you don't know what I mean by clip art, it's kind of a catch-all phrase that means pre-made art, made available oftentimes for personal use or educational use or non-commercial use, like a teacher putting a music note in a syllabus or a janitor that wants to let you know that the hallway is slippery. Not a way to harvest art for a brand you intend to sell. There are libraries of clip art, a lot of them searchable through Google Images, that store free art donated by artists or taken from something else that exists, and you might nab from there when you need a basic visual for something that isn't a product. They're not for some famous rich kid to come along and slap his name on it and act like it's his own iconography with no compensation for the artist. Clip art libraries, even the Creative Commons one, are not open season for some smash and grab on copyright. In our Parents' Worst Nightmare video, Dr. Downvote rattled off a handful of examples of stolen images in Jake Paul's merch.
This wave design, this Lamborghini, this goat, these boxing gloves, the logo for his entire line, the God Church even, all clip art.
There's more. This one hasn't been mentioned before and might be the ultimate example of how thievery-based Jake Paul's merch is. The Team 10 logo. Now, you would think this would be an important logo to Jake Paul, right? It's the logo for his company. Jake, how easy would it have been for you to make hash marks? You could have borrowed a Crayola from one of your fans, made 10 scribbly lines on a napkin, taken a picture of it, and the job would have been nearly done. And even that level of laziness would have been more effort than what was put into this design. And unlike this design, the napkin would have actually belonged to Jake Paul. So no, not designed in Los Angeles, California. Maybe Googled in Los Angeles, California. We got in touch with the artist who made this design. He verified that he was not paid for this by Jake Paul, that it was stolen from work he did for another client, and that he intended to complain. Jake is also now selling socks with the flame emoji. Obviously, that is not his original art. But the latest trend in Jake's merch is for Jake to get a tattoo, have someone trace that tattoo, and then make merch out of it. You might be thinking, and maybe even Jake thinks, that if it's on his body, he owns the art. No. Actually, no. The tattoo artist owns the copyright on their tattoos. We reached out to the tattoo artist who inked the Tyrannosaurus on Jake's arm. John was very surprised to find out that his art was being sold on merchandise. He confirmed that he did not license it that way, and he asked for URLs for where we found it. Jake's rib tattoo, which of course is now being sold as a merch design as well, came from a shoe. The special edition Converse Off-White collab designed by Virgil Abloh. Jake has modified it to say Jack Paul for loyalty in Chinese. Loyalty pledges, also a big part of his merch now, by the way. Just in case it wasn't clear that Jake is big on brainwashing his young fans. This shirt is a full parade of clip art, plus the precise coordinates to a shed in Ohio. Maybe that's where Jake is hiding all the original art for his merch empire. You may remember, because of the chorus of boos that followed, that Jake used his victory speech at the Manchester fight to launch an upscale fashion line called RNBO, which stands for Rise and Be Original. So originality's in the name. This time, gotta be original designs, right? No, still clip art. Clip art rainbow. A design so simple that a child could have drawn it on a napkin, once again. Stolen. This is the logo for a fashion line, and it wasn't even adjusted from the free font's default settings. The 4 letters RNBO are in a flame font called CharBB, which can be downloaded by anyone, including you, free for personal use. As is the custom now, he also got an RNBO related tattoo. So when we say that Jake Paul is making the worst merch in the game, he's permanently committed to it. If you're considering making any merch, either now or in the future, please don't let Jake Paul give you any bad ideas. You can easily hire an artist to make your merch. And we're gonna talk about how.
On the next episode of Tryhards, we'll commission art from the lunatic artists on Twitter. We'll show you how to be a good client, and we'll share a few artists you could hire if you're making merch. Then, for this t-shirt printing gold rush, we'll show you who's making the best shovels by quality testing several printing companies. And we'll determine once and for all who makes the best blank shirts to ruin with doodles of our faces. So we have our resolutions for Nerd City merch. Good art, comfortable fit, happy customers. And Twitter is going to be a big part of that, from finding the art to marketing the gear. So as we begin the new year, we've respectfully asked the devil to actually get good at Twitter. And since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the devil is gonna watch a Skillshare course and get up to speed on that forsaken platform. Skillshare features a course by Matt Belisai, a former bureau chief at BuzzFeed of cute animal clickbait.
That was a real title that I got paid for, and I can't believe it either.
And someone who's written single tweets that have gotten retweeted more than 50,000 times. We're gonna watch his popular course on creating for the viral internet. Let's see if this old snake can learn new tricks. BuzzFeed prepared this guy to work for you.
This video of a cat saving a turtle is so adorable, you'll burst into flames. Don't tell people how to feel. Relatability, the biggest tool there is identity. And the biggest tool for originality is having an opinion and having a point of view.
I'm going to express my opinion as an uncertainty. So I'm going to change that to, I'm going out on a limb here. Will Smith does not care about Fortnite.
This guy practically wrote your tweet.
If your New Year's resolution is to gain some knowledge and maybe some skills in any particular topic, click on the link in the description for 2 free months of Skillshare. Now that's a lot easier than getting off your lazy butt in the cold weather to go to the gym. And no one will say anything to you if you do it with a beverage in your hand.